Boxing truth here. Let's talk about Jeff Horn. His next fight. What's going down. Why he's having issues and finding a suitable opponent for his next fight. Of course, Bradley Skeete's name's been thrown in the mix because a lot of opponents have fallen through. All you gotta do is follow the news, follow the timeline, and you can wonder why Bradley Skeete is now in the mix for Jeff Horn's first title defense to the WBO. So you look at it and you see why. Pacquiao wants to fight in the Philippines. Him and Bob Arum not on the same page. Very doubtful the rematch ever happens. Jesse Vargas, it was reported not too long ago by Dan Rayfield that Vargas is a free agent from Top Rank. He's no longer under contract with Top Rank. So there's an issue obviously there. Vargas is still contemplating what business decision he wants to make. He's been inactive, hasn't fought since Pacquiao whooped him. And now he has a business decision to make of where he wants to continue his career. Obviously, Bob will probably tell Vargas, if you want to fight Jeff Horn for a title, you're going to have to re-sign with me. You're going to have to extend the deal with Top Rank, and maybe Vargas doesn't want to do that. That's just how the business works. There's no one-offs in this business. Not even Mikey Garcia is doing one-offs. He's an Al Haymon fighter, an undercover Al Haymon fighter. So you got to commit to a longer-term deal if you want a big fight, especially if you're not in a power position like a Floyd Mayweather or other fighters that are doing it on their own, like Klitschko, for instance. You got to be established before you can get that kind of power in the boxing game. And Vargas, like many other fighters, doesn't have that power. Will have to sign with a promoter to get a big fight. So that's why he's probably fallen through as well. Lucas Matisse has been reported that he's not going to fight until next year, in 2018. Besides, he still needs some get-back fights, some sharpening fights, and Jeff Horn will whoop his ass if they were to fight in November. So that fight's not happening. He's off the table. And who else is there? Looking at WBO rankings, the Meme Machine, he's rated number 4, top-ranked fighter. He's never fought on TV. He has no exposure. It makes no sense for them to do that fight. Matisse off the table, Pacquiao off the table. Vargas is a free agent contemplating on what he wants to do. Lamont Peterson was another name being thrown out there, but he's not really he's also being mentioned as an opponent for Errol Spence, so that could be Errol Spence's next fight. So he's most likely not a very viable option anyways. And then of course you got Terence Crawford, who's also, he's available, no fight in the works. Just ducked Sergey Lipnitz, vacated his belt. I'm still waiting to see what his next opponent is. But of course, Bob Arum already put cold water to the fire about a potential Crawford-Horn matchup this year, since it is available. Crawford will have to go to Australia, of course, because Jeff Horn is the ASAT, the guy that brings money to the table. But Bob Arum is saying it's too premature to make the fight. But from what I see, Bob Arum is protecting Terence Crawford from a Jeff Horn ass whooping. Bob Arum knows Crawford ain't ready for that work, especially for his first fight in the welterweight division. He wants him to get his feet wet. Most likely he's going to fight a bomb in his welterweight debut around the Super Bowl time, possibly against Mike Alvarado. And I'm telling you, if he fights Mike Alvarado, I'm going in on Terence Crawford. And watch all you fuckboys defend that matchup. All you Crawford fanboys, dick riding. Watch what happens if Crawford fights Mike Alvarado. I'm going in, bro. But Bob Arum's protecting Crawford from Horn. Doesn't want to match it up just yet. You can make an excuse that he's trying to marinate that fight. It's too premature, but what's the point of marinating the fight? Mr. 50K pay-per-view buys ain't a big star. Bob Arum has a vision to make it a Las Vegas fight, but that could be a ploy to get some protection for Terence Crawford in order to have a better chance of beating Jeff Horn. get Tony Weeks or Robert Byrd to protect him and make it harder for Horn to get a fair shake on Las Vegas soil. That could also be the plan for Bob, and just to give Crawford a better chance to beat Horn, because in Australia he's getting his ass whooped. He's gonna get overpowered. He's gonna get chipped up and broken down in a fight in Australia, especially in his first fight in the welterweight division. So it is what it is. Horn is having difficulty finding an opponent, and Bradley Skeete, from the list of the top 15 of the WBO rankings, and considering all the guys I just mentioned, the reason why that fight is not available for Horn next, who else is out there? Bradley Skeete is a guy that's had plenty of exposure in the UK. He's a Queensberry fighter, promoted by Frank Warren, very tall guy, decent fighter, has been in some good fights where he's been matched against Egerton in the past in a mandated fight for a British title. Got through in that fight. He has one loss to Frankie Gavin. He's not a world beater. He's not an elite fighter, but he's a top contender. He's been active, more active than Jesse Vargas. He's been winning fights. He's very confident. He's stylistically not the easiest fight in the world for Jeff Horn. He has more momentum compared to Jesse Vargas. But, if out of all these names that are mentioned, the names that are possible for Horn, I would rather see Jesse Vargas get the nod for Horn's next fight, because that's a recognized name for some of the casuals out there. He's been in there with Pacquiao. He's been on HBO. He's had some exposure on bigger platforms before. He's fought in America. He's an American fighter. It's a good fight for Horn. In a fight that can get him even more legitimacy in the welterweight division, where a lot of people sees him as a gifted champion, not a worthy top welterweight. He may not be proven as the true WBO champion, but he's still a proven top welterweight in my eyes. And a Jeff Horn fight will be excellent for him for his first defense. Lucas Matisse don't want that work. Terence Crawford ain't ready for that work. Panamera has fought on off-TV undercard bouts. He has no exposure. So this is the reason why Jeff Horn is having trouble finding an opponent. People will say, well, why not do a unification with Errol Spence? Well, the problem is it's not a big enough fight. That's why the promoters don't want to make it right now. Yeah, Jeff Horn called out Errol Spence, but who gives a shit? I mean, if you're a top-ranked fighter calling out an Al Haymon fighter, it's a bunch of bullshit. And vice versa. If you're an Al Haymon fighter calling out a top-ranked fighter, it's a bunch of bullshit. I'd rather fighters be real with me instead of calling guys out, knowing that there's a protective shield or a big pond across the street when you call guys out from different promotional companies. I'd rather a fighter just say, look, I'll fight anybody, but at the end of the day, my promoter, my manager, they put the opponents in front of me, the fights that are doable, makeable, and fights that are in the best interests of them. They're not going to do the Spence fight until it's actually much bigger, until Spence gets better promotion, starts filling out arenas, and where the fight actually makes sense for both parties to make. I mean, just ask yourself, does a Spence-Horn unification do any business in the United States? Does it sell out any venues? Is it a Las Vegas fight? Is it a pay-per-view fight? Will either guy get 7 figures to make that fight? The promoter's job is to make sure they maximize the revenues of their fighters so they can get paid as well. They get a bigger cut out of the fighter's purse. It's just what it is. It's business. Not a big enough fight. Spence is not ducking Horn. Neither Horn is not ducking Spence. It's just a fight not to make right now. Besides, even though Spence would like to fight Horn, he's focused on a voluntary defense next in the U.S., possibly in New York, maybe against Lamont Peterson or Luis Collazo. You really think Haymon is interested in sending Spence to Australia where the fight only makes that's the place the fight only makes sense right now. You really think Heyman has any interest in sending Spence to Australia for his first title defense and a unification? No, they're gonna wait for that fight, build it up more. Besides, the Keith Thurman fight is a lot bigger. That's the plan for that side. And of course, Arum has his vision with Horn. Whether the Pacquiao rematch takes place or not, I don't know. I doubt it. Manny already said he's already been on record. He ain't fighting Horn in Australia again. He's not gonna do it. So that fight could permanently be off the table. But if he fights Bradley Skeete, it is what it is. That's the only decent name on this list that he could fight. Thurman's off the table. He's out of commission right now. Spence is gonna take a title defense in the United States. And Horn, he does have another option. It makes a lot of business sense, and that's Anthony Modine, a fighter that has generated a lot of money in pay-per-view in Australia, the richest fighter in Australia pay-per-view history. But it will have to be at a catch weight, and it's not really a fight people. I mean, it does make sense business-wise in Australia. There'll be a pay-per-view over there. Jeff Horn will get a good payday to fight Anthony Modine. There's some type of rivalry there. Modine's been calling out Horn for quite some time. But it's a fight where Horn doesn't get nothing out of it. He'll have to move up in weight, move out of the welterweight division. The only thing he'll get out of it is a payday. But if I'm in his team, I'd rather he stay at welterweight, make a title defense, see if the Manny Pacquiao rematch materializes, or perhaps a fight with Crawford down the line. But yeah, Terence Crawford definitely getting some top-rate protection from Jeff Horn. He ain't ready for that work. Jeff Horn is ready for Crawford right now, but Crawford ain't available. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.